Well, hello there, my darlings, and welcome back to another little episode of Lua Warframes. And today, as you can see on the screen, we're looking at Citrine, the crystal goddess. But before I get into it, if you don't want to hang out with me, if you don't like my meandering commentary, please feel free to skip to the parts you need. I have chaptered up these videos for your ease. And if you find this or any of my videos of any use or interest or entertainment, please feel free to drop a like, a comment and or a sub, because your support is helping my channel grow. In the meantime, Citrine, where do we get her? What is she for? Is she any good? Shall we get into it? So, to be able to farm or obtain Citrine on her blueprints, you need to be a Mastery Rank 3. You also need to have completed the Heart of Deimos quest, and you also need to be on Mars and have worked your way through Mars all the way up to the heady heights of the Tyana Pass mission. It's not there when you first start. I think it gets unlocked. And it's called a mirror defense. It's kind of like a two-phased defense mission. And this is where you're going to come to obtain the components you need to buy her blueprints, and potentially her blueprints may drop, and also maybe her weapons, and that will only drop from rotation C on this defense, which is basically the 4th round. So we'll have a look at that mission in a moment, because that's where you're going to get the components you need to come and buy these blueprints if they don't drop for you. And you need to head to Otak on the Necrolisc, and there you go, he's got a little option called Unearth Citrine, and here you go, this is where you're going to buy her blueprints that you don't get, or all of them potentially, and her weapons, and they have component parts as well, and arcanes, there's all sorts here. To buy the Citrine blueprints alone, you're going to need these crystals, and these crystals are what drops from the Tyana Pass, and you need 1,550 Rania crystals and 1,500 Belric crystals. Rania and Belric are just lovers, and you'll hear all about it in the Tyana Pass mission. So let's head to Tyana Pass. This new-ish kind of defense, it's a mirror defense. It's essentially two defenses on two different tile sets linked in the middle by a pathway that you have to keep traveling backwards and forwards between, and the game will tell you when. Here we're defending Belric's crystal, and fortuitously I headed in right near the end of the first round, and as you can see it dropped 10 Belric crystals and 10 Rania crystals because we're at the end of the round. In between the rounds, you get an option as a team to go around and basically Sonic the Hedgehog with your rings, but these are Citrine's fragments. They're little crystalline drops that you can go and pick up, and I'm going to tell you now, they're really satisfying to pick up. You'll usually get someone that comes in as a Titania and just flies around, zips around and collects them. There's always somebody that loves to go and collect them while other people defend the point, and here you go, that's them. And if you collect 50, you will get a little bonus amount of crystals. We're in Rania's defense at the moment, so we got 5 Belric crystals, and I believe if we're over in Belric's defense, we'll get 5 Rania crystals per 50. So if you can just keep zipping around and catch in 50 of those little crystalline droplet thingamajiggers crystals, you'll get an extra little boost of crystals, and it all really does help. Now on Steel Path, obviously you'll get more. We'll have a look at that in a second. And as you can see, we're just about to travel across the plain. I mean, there's like an aura worm out here, I'm sure. If you're good at parkouring, great, like jump around and get these crystals. If you fall off, don't worry, you just respawn in. It doesn't count as a death or anything like that. But if you're a Titania, as you can see, there's one zipping around. It's just so much easier if you can fly and just grab those extra crystals. Look, there's an aura worm. I'm sure that's an aura worm. Anyway, so there you go, and you just travel backwards and forwards and keep going, and you kind of want to get to the 4th round, essentially, the C rotation, because that's when blueprints are more likely to drop. But you don't have to. You don't have to stay for that. You can just grab your crystals and go and buy the stuff and things, you know. I've brought Hydroid Prime with his Augment Mod for his Pilfering Swarm. It doesn't boost the crystals up. Nothing boosts the crystals up, so don't worry about resource boosters or blessings or anything like that. It's just a standard drop. But you know, we may as well get some other goodies while we're here, right? And just zipping over now to Steel Path, exactly the same mission, just harder. For those 50 little crystal fragments you pick up, you get 7 boosted crystals. We're in Belric, so we get 7 Ranias. If we're in Ranias defending the red crystal, we would get 7 Belrics. And at the end of each round, instead of 10, the Steel Path rounds drop 15 as a reward. So, you know, well worth coming to the Steel Path if you can. Yes, it is tougher, but there are usually some really good squads here, and people have been playing this mission for a while now, so they've got it down, you know. They just know exactly what they're doing. But this is the only place you're going to get these Belric and Rania crystals in the game. So, you know, pick your battles and go and collect those crystal fragments because it's well worth it. And this really kind of teaches you how to parkour without falling off things. Or just fall off the things, you know. And once you've collected or bought all of her blueprints, you're going to need some extra things to build them. So you're going to need for her neuroptics a faceted Tiametrite, and you can get that from Otak at the Necrolis, but you have to build it. Same with the stellated Necrothene, and the other thing you're going to need are some Argon crystals from the Void. And it takes 12 hours to build each of her components and another 3 days to build the main Warframe, as per normal with all Warframes. And as you can see, I've claimed her and we have an unranked Citrine. Because I'm an LR 32, my maximum mod slot capacity is 30, but if I put a lovely golden potato, an Orokin Catalyst I believe, into her using the action button at the bottom, I should be able to double that up to 60, and then once I put her aura mod in, that's gonna take it up even higher. And she comes with a former already in her aura, which I believe is the Vazarin, the straight line, and as you can see that's added on another 14 slots, so we now have a max of 74 before I've even ranked her up. So for me, that's freaking awesome sauce. And the best thing to do before you start modding is to look at the abilities and the passives and the tips, because that may give you some idea of which direction to take your mod configuration, because sometimes pure damage and pure strength doesn't actually matter. And with Citrine, it turns out she's quite a status spreading Warframe, so we'll have a look at that. I still didn't understand it, so I turned to Overframe, and there were 2 people who had some incredibly in-depth builds with lots of variables in there. So we'll go over that briefly after, but let's have a quick look at her abilities. First, her passive. Citrine grants nearby allies 5 health regen per second. Pick up a health orb to increase regen by 0.1 maximum up to 25. Her first ability, Fractured Blast. Slash and stagger enemies with Crystal Blast that inflicts /status. Enemies afflicted with this status effect have an increased chance of dropping health or energy orb. Second ability, Preserving Shell. Citrine guards herself and nearby allies with a crystalline shell that gradually decays. Kills and assists increase the defensive power of this shell. Third ability, Prismatic Gem. Deploy a gem that shoots prismatic beams. The gem targets enemies that are taking weapon damage. Important. From Citrine and her allies, its beams inflict heat, cold, toxin, and electrical status effects. Status chance and duration increase for nearby allies. Right? The status spreader. And her fourth ability, this is actually the one I Helminth off her, Crystallize. Citrine summons crystal fractals. The fractals rush forward seeking enemies. Enemies touched by the fractals are paralyzed by crystalline growths. Hit the growths to deal critical damage. This is like doing headshots. Now this is the ability that has a Augment Mod, and I managed to get hold of the Augment Mod, but I ended up not kind of using it. I used it once or twice but decided I didn't need it based on the other builds that I did, and we'll have a look at why. But I should add, if you want the recrystallized Augment Mod, you can trade it from other players, or I got mine from the Steel Meridian Syndicate for 25,000 standing. So I won't bore you with all the ranking up, but as you can see, there are now 5 formers in Citrine, so we have fast forwarded slightly. And we are on a mecha build, which I got from someone called Alien Breakfast on Overframe. And this mecha build is basically the mecha mod set, and we'll just take a quick look at those mecha mods. First, there's Mecha Empowered and Aura Mod. It's 150% extra damage against marked enemies. Your companion will mark the enemies, and then once you kill that marked enemy, its status effects will spread. Mecha Pulsar Warframe Mod. Killing a marked enemy grants plus 60% armor. Mecha Overdrive goes into your Kubrow, and it gives you an increased status duration, but it's again the companion marking the target to kill them. It's that whole thing and spreading status effects. And Mecha Recharge is a plus 90% shield recharge plus the status effect spreading. Now, because Citrine is quite tanky and she's very supportive, her first ability does increase the chance of, I think, health orbs dropping. Arcane Blessing comes into its own here because that stacks up your health, essentially, up to 24 times once you've max ranked it. You can get Arcane Blessing from Rotation C on Lua Conjunction Survival, Circulus mission. You can also purchase them from Archimedes and Yonta, but you can also buy them from other players. You can trade them in game. And it is a blessing, I'm going to tell you that. And as you can see, we've also got Equilibrium in here. And Equilibrium, basically, health pickups give 110% energy, and energy pickups give 110% health. And because of her first ability, you will see a lot of health and energy orbs being dropped once you kill the enemies that have been impacted by that status. Oh my goodness. You just never run out of energy or health. Like, I took her on very high level and she was like, yeah, fine, whatever. And on this particular build, I Helminth off her 4, the crystallized one, and I've put Helminth's Pillage on here. And this is because this is an armor stripper and it boosts up your shields. And with this mecha build, you need a Kubrow. It doesn't matter which one. I've gone for my Huras Kubrow because it gives me invisibility sometimes. But you want to put the 2 mecha mods into your Kubrow. Those are very important. However, I did find as I got to the higher level stuff, my Kubrow kept dying. So I do need to work on this build. I think I need to make it a little tankier. And the second Citrine build I started looking at was by a guy called Ninjace or Ninjase on Overframe. And I Helminthed off her 4th again and put Raw on it. Now, both of these builds are slightly different to the original ones they put on Overframe because underneath their builds they came up with so many variables and options, and they came up also with different weapons to use, which I haven't even got into yet. I just don't have time right now. But so I used my Exceltra Prime and my Latum with Citrine and she did good. But yeah, this is the other option. So this is a non-mecha build. This has a health conversion mod in it, which you can get from Cephalon's Mars for 100,000 standing. And as you can see, health orbs grant 450 armor, stacking up 3 times. Taking damage will consume a stack after 3 seconds. That is a very good mod to put in it, and it makes her very tanky. And also, I've Helminth off her 4, crystallize, and put on Raw, Rhino's Raw, and I've put the piercing Raw Augment mod in there. Might tweak a little bit and fiddle with it, but the Arcane Blessing is still there, very important. But yeah, I've taken both of these builds out, and I've left the Kubrow on as it was on both of them. Again, it might need tweaking, and I've gone and done very high level missions on Steel Path. That's my go-to now to see if they work, and they did. They work really well. So should we take a look? So as you can see, I've gone Requiem Fissure on Steel Path. It was 160 plus enemies, and I've gone straight in, and they've already started the mission, and I've popped some energy. I need to put some Archon shards in it. I don't know if I showed the Archon shards. I've literally got 1 yellow and 1 blue, and I think 1 was to improve casting speed and 1 was just to give her some armor. But I do need to give her some kind of like energy prep. That'll be amber Archon shard, maybe some red Archon shards. I'm not sure yet. Don't know if I want to take her down like the different coloured Archon shard route. However, the thing I would say about Citrine is I probably wouldn't use her for any other mission rather than mobile defenses, mirror defenses, anything where you're defending a target or not having to move around too much, because she is pretty god dang it slow. Because she's a tank, you know, she's a crystal tank. You try and move a crystal tank quickly, it's not going to happen unless you put some speed mods in it, but I don't really want to do that and waste slots, you know. So as you can see, we've come in. I popped her 3, which is basically that prism that starts damaging enemies as soon as you shoot them. And her second ability gives you some kind of damage buff. And the 4th is Raw, Rhino's Raw, which just increases damage now. And also her first one is the one that when you pop it and start killing enemies, they're affected by that status in that first ability. When they die, they start dropping a huge amount of energy and health orbs. And it got a bit silly. So this is fine. I'm in a squad. I struggle in squads because I'm like, is this me? Have I got buffs? It's hard to see on the top of the screen who's giving you what buffs. So I went solo on even higher level, but I think I went on my mecha build. So this is the tank support build. This is no mecha mods in here. I do have my Kubrow with me, but there's no sort of the extra status being shared around by the mecha mods essentially, which is basically their whole point. And because Citrine is a status spreader, that's what we want, man. But this is a very solid build. This is tanky, you know, she's not going to go down very quickly, and we're all good. And as you can see, the Acolytes popped up, and we were able to take that on as well. So I'll be honest, this felt kind of okay, but I did feel like maybe I was being helped by the other players and I couldn't tell. So the best way to tell is to either go to your simulacrum, which I did do, but also to go and play a mission solo. So as you can see, I changed on my navigation, my build. I've gone back to the mecha build, which is the Pillage Helminth Ability over the 4. So I never used her recrystallize mod. I did originally, but I didn't find it useful. So we've gone to Lua Conjunction, Circulus on Steel Path. It's 200 plus enemies solo. Shall we just play it out? I've brought my Latum and my Exceltra Prime, which can be seen, the builds can be seen in other videos. But give me a shout if you want to see them. And let's just see how she gets on, shall we? So we'll just mention here the order of operations. I'm popping her third ability, you know, staying put within that area. Then I'm popping her second ability, which gives me that buff, as you can see on the right there. Then, I mean, I'm popping pillage all over the place, but her first ability I'll pop when I'm within the third ability range. As you can see, the rainbow kind of swirly whirlies. Doesn't matter too much, but it seems to do more damage. I sort of pop the first one at a load of enemies and then shoot them, and oh my goodness, they go down like a sack of spuds. And as you can see, there are a lot of health and energy orbs around, which is keeping us buffed up essentially. And the pillage is keeping our shield high, and as you can see, our health is just increasing. It did drop down a little, but with that Arcane Blessing, it's just gonna keep stacking up if we don't take huge amounts of damage. And it's just amazing. I really enjoyed this. I stayed on for the first round just to see how she fares, and we did okay. We did fine. I didn't die once. Puddingkins, my little harass Kubrow, I need to work on the survivability of those on higher levels, because there's no point bringing them, you know, with the mecha mods if they aren't actually going to stay alive long enough for me to make use of them. But as you can see, Puddingkins has recovered and we are back to it. Popping those abilities, mash, mash, mash. And oh my goodness, look at it. It's really good. there you go. I mean, that was only one round. Yes, I know, but I kind of just wanted to show briefly what she's capable of and what I've started to use her for. And I just think for survivals, mobile defenses, things where you can sort of stay put and drop her third ability, you're going to do really, really well with her. I still need to work on some of the configurations, and definitely the Kubrow configuration, the mod configuration, and potentially weapons. I haven't even looked at the weapons that were on Overframe, because none of the ones they listed I've got in a good place at the moment, which would involve a huge amount of extra work with formering and modifications. And just to bring you to this point, for newer players that might be watching to this point, don't feel disheartened, because this was a huge amount of work to get to this point with this Warframe. She needed some work. She needed some good mods. I had to go and do extra work on the syndicates. I will do an extra video on those actually, to get my Steel Meridian up so I could buy that recrystallized mod, which I ended up not using much of in the end anyway. But the health conversion mod, I had to do some standing here. That took like 2 or 3 days to get to 100,000 standing to be able to buy this health conversion mod. So I had this video in progress for a while, because I was like, I need the stuff, I need the things, I need to get to this point and show you guys what's she capable of. So my darlings, in the comments, I know somebody's going to be like, oh my goodness, why are you modding her like that? And why aren't you using this? And you know, you're not born knowing it. And this is the thing I love about this game, is that you learn as you go. And some people don't like to be told, they like to have things suggested to them. So please be considerate when you're telling people like probably what the best way to use something is. They might just not have got to that point yet, or it might just not be their playstyle. So my darlings, you know, I know that you'll be kind in the comments. Don't be mean. There's a lot of work to be done on my Citrine, and I think I might use her in the future. Anyway, my darlings, in the meantime, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. The subs have gone crazy. Don't know what's going on my channel at the moment. It's kind of scary. I feel like I need to go and redo some of my older videos for future watchers, for future Warframers, and for future gamers. You know, because I owe it to you, because you've been so supportive. But in the meantime, thank you for being here. Thanks for watching. I really do hope to see you again in the next one, no matter what it may be. But in the meantime, you take care now, and goodbye.